Hello all, welcome to the lecture. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the recent news that has been coming up. So recently, Supreme Court has made a judgment that GST Council's recommendations are not binding on the state and the central government, right? So it's a big news for us. So according to the Supreme Court, both Parliament and the state legislature, they can legislate on GST. So basically, why this case and what is this case? So the apex court's decision has come out while confirming a Gujarat High Court ruling that the center cannot levy IGST, that is integrated GST on ocean freight from Indian importers. So this judgment that has come up is related to that. Now, it is, this is making news. Why? Because it is said this is a landmark decision if we talk about fiscal federalism in India. So the Supreme Court ruled that the recommendation of the GST Council, they which are, which were considered to be obligatory, are not binding on the union and state government. So, in what could give pace to the increasing voice of dissent by states ruled by parties other than that of the center? It was a bench of Justice Chandrachud, Suryakant and Vikramnath who gave out a statement, a very clear statement, that Parliament intended for the recommendation of the Council to only have a persuasive value. Now, this is a big statement that GST Council has only a persuasive value. A lot of opinions are coming on from various sectors, and some are saying that it's a big judgment. And if we talk about the GST regime, the aim of the GST regime was to foster that cooperative federalism and create that harmony between the different constituent units. So Parliament and the state legislature possesses simultaneous power to legislate on GST. So a very big statement from the Supreme Court. So if I talk about some of the important article over here, so we have to know about Article 279A. So according to the bench, Article 279A, neither does this article begin with non-obstant clause, nor does Article 246A provide that the legislative power is subject to Article 279A. So GST Council is a recommendatory, completely, here is the statement, recommendatory body which is going to aid government to basically how to enact, or we can say how to legislate upon GST. So the bench said that the fiscal federalism is an important aspect of federal structure of the governance in India. So the recommendations, any recommendations that are coming from the GST Council are the product of collaborative dialogue which is involving the union and states. So they are recommendatory in nature. So to regard them as a binding edicts would disrupt the physical federalism, and whatever the judgment has come up, it is saying to promote the physical federal structure of the country where both the union and the states are conferred equal powers so that they can come up to legislate on GST. The Supreme Court also said that the government will exercise its ruling making power under the provisions of the CGST Act and IGST Act. So a very important statement that has come up from the Supreme Court. So what are the key takeaways of the judgment that is important for us? Firstly, we should know about GST Council. That is something very important. So the recommendations of the GST Council are the product of collaborative dialogue which actually involve union as well as states. So they are now, according to the judgment, they are recommendatory in nature and they will only have a persuasive value. Now, the judgment says that to regard them as binding, what it is going to do? Disrupt the physical federalism. So it is all more important now to understand what is physical federalism, where both union and state are conferred equal powers to legislate on GST. That is, it is now not landing on the arena of one particular domain. That is, either the center is going to make or the union, state is going to make laws on it. So all now it has become important that judgment, we have to see from the judgment that these three basic points are the key takeaways of the judgment that has been given by the Supreme Court. So what is the basis of the judgment? The court emphasized over here on what? Article 246A of the Constitution, which gives the states power to make laws with respect to GST. So now over here in the recent statement, what is it? That union and state are treated as equal units. It treats the union and the state as equal units. So simultaneous power are being conferred on the union government as well as your state government for enacting laws on GST. Another article that we're going to talk about over here is your Article 279A. What is this 279? So basically it's related to the constituting the GST Council. It envisages that neither the center nor the states are actually dependent on the other. So that dependency criteria that we're talking about over here, we were saying that a lot of issues were coming up and today the questions are being raised that we are coming at a time when too much center hegemony is there. So this judgment, what this judgment is about, all about, that we have to see, and these are the important articles, that is Article 246A and 279A related to the constituting of the GST Council. Let us now study about the GST Council. So from what is important for us to study about this body? So GST Council, a federal body, and why was this created, this federal body? If I look at the aim, was to bring together the states as well as the center on a common platform so that we can come out with a nationwide rollout of the indirect tax regime, we can say indirect tax reform. So GST Council, it is an apex member committee which modifies, or we can say reconcile, or to procure any law or regulation based on the context of goods and services tax in India. So what is that the GST Council dictates? It dictates your tax rate, your tax assumption, the due date of reforms, tax laws, tax deadlines, keeping in mind special rates and provisions for some states also. So what is the predominant responsibility of the GST Council over here? So the predominant responsibility of the GST Council is to ensure to have one uniform tax rate for goods and services across the nation. After this judgment has been released, there are a lot of comments from the various sections that if this goes on, then we were seeing what as a GST body as a very important body, and whether it will lose the confidence of the body, that is something very important. So this was all about the news. So thank you. With this we end the lecture.